Hi everyone, I'm Apollo Adeyeri and this is the Python Flask series. Now in this video we're going to talk about the JSON Web Token Authentication, JWT. So we're going to implement it, have a protected endpoint and this sign in for getting the access on refresh tokens and also the refresh routes for refreshing the access tokens. So currently I have like a basic sign in sign up system and also the routes that we're going to protect to view like a list of all the users. So let's just test this, then we can begin to implement JWT using the same Flask application. So I have the sign up to create the user, I have the sign in that currently just returns like login successful, so something very simple for now. So we also have the user model that like we have the ID, first name, last name and the like, set password to undo the we use SQL document and SQLite database, but also we have all that. So let's just test this for now and see the way it works. So I'll just go into my terminal, run my code, python main.py. Right, so let me just go into Thunder client. Yeah, so create a new request. So I'm going to test this first. So 127. Right, so we have the roots slash to get a list of all the users. So we're going to protect these endpoints later on, but for now it's just open and you can see a list of all the users we have without any authentication. So for post we have sign up and sign in. So sign up, like to create a new user, we have two required fields, first name and email and password. So we have email, test user at mail.com, and password. Let's just put password for that. Right, my JSON is not valid. So now when I send the request again, we've been able to create a user with the email and password. So we didn't put the first name and last name field, but that's not important. So now let's try to sign in using this same data. So sign in. Now you can see login successful because the password and the email is correct. So now let's add JWT authentication. So first we need to install the Flask-JWT-Extended package. So I'll just go ahead and use pip install Flask-JWT-Extended. Right, so after installing that, I'll just go ahead and import it and also do a few configurations in my Flask application. So first we need to like initialize and configure the secrets key for our Flask application. So I'll just go ahead and use like the secrets Python package to generate a secrets key for our application. So I'll just go ahead and run Python import secrets. Now secrets dot token underscore hex 16, and now we have a 16 digits we have a 16 stuff token. So let's copy this and use it for our configuration. So app.config, now square brackets secrets key, and now we can say equals in quotes to our secrets key. So let me just exit this and then we can continue with the JWT configuration. So first we need to import the JWT extended. So I would import like a few packages that would, a few functions and stuffs that would need for JWT authentication. So first I need to, from JWT Flask JWT extended, import JWT manager is the first thing we need to import. JWT manager, then create access token, also the create refresh token, create refresh token. We also need the decorator for the protected endpoints. So we have the JWT required, Also, we have one more for the get JWT identity to like determine which user is logged in. So get JWT identity. So let me just get back to this. So now we also need to import datetime module to like configure how long we want our tokens to spend before they expire, like how long they should take before it expires. So like the access token will give it like 10 minutes, and then the refresh token will give it like an hour or so. So let's import datetime for that. Import date time, and now let's configure the settings for JWT. So app.config. Now what we want to configure is the JWT access token expires. So JWT access, it needs to be in square brackets, so let me just open one. JWT access token expires. So equals date time dot time delta. Then for this one, let's just say minutes equals, let's say 5 minutes actually, just to, and then we want to do the same thing for the refresh token. So I'll just go ahead and copy this, but this time I'll set it to 1 hour. So I'll change this to refresh. JWT refresh token expires, and then let's say hours equals 1. Right. So you can also update this as much as you want for like your own requirements. So just now we've configured our Flask application for JWT. Now we just need to create a JWT manager object. So let's say JWT equals JWT manager. So we're now passing the app as the arguments. So that's where to get like the configurations from the access token and refresh token and the secret key also. So like every time you create a JSON web token, it's going to be signed using the secret key. So that means it can be decoded properly using the secret key. But if it does not match, that means it's invalid. So you cannot use like the token of another application to sign into your own application. So that's the purpose of the secret key that we have in our Flask application. So now let's begin to create the access and refresh token. So let's go to sign in, where I sign in my user for the logged in stuff. I just need to create the access token right here. So let's create a variable access equals create access token, and now for the create access token I need to pass in an argument for what I want to use to identify the user. So I'll just say identity equals user ID for this one. So identity equals user dot ID. I'll do the same for the refresh token. So just let me go ahead and copy this, refresh, then this, just delete. So I'll just go ahead and use create refresh token this time, because we want to create two access tokens. So just create refresh token. So now we can just like return this inside of the response. So access token equals access. So we'll do the same for the refresh token. Refresh token. Then we want to do refresh. Right, so now let me restart my server and then we can test to see if this works. Python main.py. Hopefully we haven't created any errors. So I'll go to the Thunder client and send the sign in request again. So now when I send the sign in request, you can see we have the access and the refresh token has been generated. So now we can now use this for authentication by like sending this token as a part of our request header, like the authentication request header. So let's go back to the main.py and define like a protected endpoint. So now any protected endpoint does need to be wrapped with the decorator, the JWT required decorator, and then we use the get JWT identity to determine which user is logged in. So to make this endpoint protected now, it's currently not protected. So let me just go ahead and confirm that. So let's go to this, change it to get request to list all the users. Now you can see we have a list of all the users that we have here. But now when I come to the this part and set at JWT required, now let me see if my server is still running. Restart server. Now when I try to access this endpoint without authentication, it should say missing authentication header. So now I need to provide my token using the authorization header. So let me just go ahead and put sign in to get my token. So change the post request, send my, so I need to copy this, the token for the access token, and now I need to use it inside of the headers, and then like I'll create a new header for authorization, and now I need to set bearer, then paste my token. So now I also need to send a get request to the protected endpoint to see if it works now. So right here you can see I'm still able to access it because I've now like provided my authentication token. So if I should just click this to like not send the token now, send this again, we have missing authorization header. So there are two ways to like send this token using the Thunder client. You could send it using the headers, or I can just come to auth, select bearer token, and then paste my token right here and send the request. So we have the same effect on the server. So now we've gotten the protected endpoints, but how do we determine which user is logged in? So let's try to do that also. Currently we just like confirm that okay, this user has like an authentication token, but now we want to know which user is logged in. So that's why we have the get JWT identity. So to do that, let's just come here and say print get JWT identity. So we'll determine like the ID of the user that is logged in. So let's try to do that now. So I'll just come back here and say print get JWT identity, but let's use the format string right here. So right, so F, and let's say nope, user ID. So let's try to print this and see what it looks like. So what's user ID? So now let me restart my server. It has restarted actually. So now when I send the request again, we should see the auth user ID get JWT identity. But now let me try to do something with that. Let's say currently it's just like printing a function, but I'm trying to do something else with it. Let's try to get like the ID of the user. That's because I didn't call the function properly. So let's start that again. Now when I send the request this time, it should be showing the ID of the user. So you can see the ID of the user here is 4. So that means I can now determine which user it is that is logged in. So let's try to get the user and actually return it inside of our request. So let's say delete this, create a new variable logged in user or auth user. Auth user equals db.query user dot filter by ID equals get JWT identity. So open and close brackets dot first, and now let's print the auth user and see. So print auth user dot to JSON. So the dot to JSON is like a method that I have in my ORM, the user objects, to like convert the objects to a JSON value. So let's just try to run this again and see what it looks like in our terminal. So when I send the request again, we should have the user objects printed. So like we now have the user objects, first name, last name, email, and the likes. So now let's now return this as a part of the response for this. So let's say inside of this, let's add one more value. So let's say logged in user or auth user equals auth user. Restart my server. Let me remove the print line. Actually, we don't need this anymore. So now restart my server, and now when I send the request, I can now determine which user is logged in. Hold on. Yeah, I didn't use the dot to JSON. Okay, that's what caused that. Right, so server restarted. Now let me send the request again, and that should work fine. So now we have this auth user. Then you can see, like, you can also see that the user is, you can see the ID and the email of the user that is logged in. But now we need to undo the refresh token, because after a while this token will expire, and we want to be able to use the refresh token to like get a new token. So now let's do that. Let's add a refresh endpoint. So let's add a refresh endpoint right below this at app.route slash refresh. And now we just need to define the refresh function. Enter. But now what we are trying to achieve here now is we need to get like the token inside of the request for the refresh token. Also now we need to return like the new access token. So now before refreshing the token, I need to actually get the token first. So what I'll do is add one more thing here. I'll add like the JWT required decorator, but now this time we want not just the access token but the refresh token. So we'll go ahead and say JWT required, but now what we want is the refresh token. So we'll say refresh equals true. So now this means to access this endpoint you need a valid refresh token, not the access token this time. So now I'll just come to the refresh and say current user equals get JWT identity. So that means we'll like get the identity of the user based on the refresh token that they provided, and now we'll create a new access token for them. So create access token. Let me just create a variable for that. So let's say access equals create a new access token. But now what we want to do is now pass in the identity. So let's say ID equals, or identity equals, then we want to provide the current user as an argument, because the current user will now contain the user ID. So that means let's now provide this and now return the access token. So let's say return bracket access token access. So now let's test if this works. So I'll go ahead and sign in again after I restart the server. So sign in again, get my refresh token and try to get the access token using this. So sign in, change this to post, and now send my request. So this can be none, so I don't need that anymore because I'm trying to sign in. So when I send this now, you can see here we have the refresh token. So I'll just go ahead and copy that. Make sure you don't miss like any one of it, because that makes it invalid. So I'll just go ahead and copy all of this and now go to the refresh endpoint. So slash refresh. So we also use I didn't actually define the routes there. Let me just change this to post quick. So methods equals post. My server stopped running. Let me restart it. So now let me use a post request. Now for the authentication, I just need to come here and put my like refresh token here instead of the access token. So I'll just go ahead and paste my refresh token, send it, and now you can see we have a new access token. But when I try to send my access token instead of the refresh token, then you would see that there will be an error because it does not support that. So let me just go ahead and copy this, paste my access token there, send. Now you can see only refresh tokens are allowed because it requires a refresh token. But when I try to use an access token, a refresh token for the access, then that will cause an error. So let me reload this. Now I get the access token. So now let's try to use the refresh token to access the access token endpoint, which would cause like an error also. So let me come back here, go to get. Now I want to use the now you can see only non-refresh tokens are allowed because it's access tokens that are required for this endpoint. So now we've been able to undo the protected endpoints, create sign-ins, create the access token and refresh token, and also refresh the current access tokens. So that's all about JSON Web Tokens in Flask. Thanks so much for watching. Like the video and subscribe to my channel for more contents like this.